Today it's time for a best-of-3 series of top-level StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Terran versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Oxide. Spawning here in the top right-hand corner and playing with the red Protoss probes, we have one of the highest-ranked Protoss players in the world, and his name is Stats. His opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the blue Terran pieces, likewise also from South Korea, and likewise also one of the very best, we have none other than ByuN. Alrighty, so as of me making this video, by the way, Mr. ByuN, okay, he's gonna be sending 2 SCVs towards what seems to be the other side of the map. But as of me making this video, ByuN on OlimoLeague is considered to be the number 10 in the world. Oof. And Stats, as of right now, currently the number 6. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that both of these guys are ridiculously good at the game. And even though nobody recommended this particular series to me, I just picked up a random series from the most recent OlimoLeague, which is a tournament that's being held over in South Korea every single week. I'll go ahead and post a link actually to their Patreon page down below as well, in case you want to support them directly and you want to help out these pros, because you know, these smaller online tournaments that are consistently out there, they're actually super important. Now, anyways, at this point, Stats has scouted that there's nothing inside of the main base of our blue Terran player. What is this? Two barracks, maybe? 2 barracks? Are you sure you're doing? I don't know. I can't speak Korean. Doesn't really matter, I suppose. There's definitely a 2 there. Okay, yeah. So Maddox apparently is translating here. I think he says 2 wrecks. Funny. All right, yeah. So even though he doesn't really know exactly where they are at right now. I love, by the way, that he already knew that it was 2 wrecks, even though he didn't see that much. I'm just getting started. All right. Well, let's see how this goes. Bunker goes up right here. Where are you? I love the communication as well. It's fantastic. A lot of the top level guys are actually good friends. So usually, you know, since obviously you're facing each other all the time, and if you want to practice, you probably are better off. Now that's really nice here for. Okay, that was really nice there for a second. For Stats, still ends up getting the kill regardless. Oh man, these probes are not scared of tasing away against these Marines, right? Obviously, ByuN very well known for his micro, but I mean, there's so much you can do in these kind of scenarios, right? It's not like you're gonna be in the best spot ever. Bunker, of course, ends up going down here, and I think that this rush is pretty much held, right? Is it time yet to send the probes back? Look at this guy. Get the other one! Get the other one! Bro! Okay, well, I guess they will still end up going down anyways. These probes are lethal, though. So, wait. 4 probes were killed there by ByuN. And only a single worker just now got killed by Stats. He decides to actually continue pushing. Yeah, ByuN is like, wait, what are you doing? You're actually gonna continue pushing right now with the probes? You know what? I actually kind of like it. Yeah. This is laughing, of course. I love it. Well, I guess he's just gonna try and get as many kills as possible. Probes will be able to mineral walk home eventually, but now the Stalker is here as well. I think the Zealot will end up going down here. He can still continue microing this for a little bit longer. At the same time, okay, the Nexus was planted down. Looks like that can't be blocked. Will the SCVs be able to kill it? Not quite. And the Stalker goes back home. I think actually if this barracks would have been able to land it a natural expansion. Let me actually go back to... Oh, well, okay, the game is over. Let me just go back for a second, though, because I'm curious when that Nexus starts up. Okay, yeah. That was surprisingly close. I think if that barracks would have landed here, it may have actually been quite playable for our Terran player, right? Because then obviously the Nexus would be delayed, and all of a sudden Stats is sitting at a whole lot of money. I mean, ByuN would still have to defend obviously everything else at home, but it would certainly look a little bit better. All right, so game number 2 will take us to Pillars of Gold. We have our Terran player here in the top right, and our Protoss in the bottom left. I've noticed that every single time that I post a ByuN video, the views on those videos actually get quite ridiculous. It seems like a lot of you are really enjoying the fact that this man is once again back to the professional gaming scene. I think that is mostly, though, because of the fact that he plays a very exciting style of Terran, right? So, for example, right, just game number 1. Stats is very well known for being a super defensive Protoss player who doesn't really die to stupid stuff. Sounds very straightforward, but in reality, it's one of the absolute hardest things to do. So his nickname is the Shield of Ire for very good reason. It's because he just doesn't die. He's very good at defending for a very long time, right? Now, even though ByuN obviously knows that is what Stats likes to be at, right? That you know, he likes to play that defensive way. Stats is still forced to deal with a couple of proxy barracks on his side of the map. Now, Stats always shows that, by the way, consistently. I'm a big fan of Stats myself. I mean, I love ByuN, obviously, but I'm a big fan of Stats as well, just because he plays that very slow and steady, macro-focused Protoss style. And while it may be a little bit less exciting and maybe a little bit more boring, it's ridiculously impressive because he's been doing this for like a decade and the meta has shifted obviously all over the place in all of the different matchups, and he consistently brings back those very similar play styles pretty much all the time. Anyways, looks like this time around, I'm assuming there's going to be a command center on the low ground. Yeah, this time around, we have ourselves a much more normal start, so it's going to be a single gateway over here, then a cyber core to complete this little wall off. So this is a little location where the Reaper could theoretically jump up. However, obviously, if you put those structures over there, you're going to deny some scouting info inside of your main base, which is quite nice. That being said, I mean, yeah, all right. Are you going to put your second pylon over there? I wouldn't mind it, my man. Yeah, all right. Even though he's known for playing very defensively, you don't want to be known as a one-trick pony. There's a lot of players out there that play the same exact strategies over and over and over and over again. And while that works very well if you're a ladder hero, it doesn't really work nearly as well in tournament games. So I love what Stats is doing here. Mixing it up a little bit. Not building anything just yet. Cybercore is done, so should be a Stargate. There we go. He is indeed going to be planting that one in the middle of the map. I mean, would you really proxy a Twilight or a Robo here? You could, theoretically, but Stargate does certainly make the most sense. Now, what exactly is the difference here, right? Compared to planting this Stargate inside of your main base, because as we already covered, it's quite difficult to actually scout on this location of the map, especially when your opponent doesn't even have a Reaper, right? The main difference is that any oracles will show up literally like 4 seconds sooner, right? So they would have to travel that way, right? Whereas if they have to travel from the main base, they have to travel a little bit further. It's a big difference, though, because oftentimes those defenses, right, they're tied very, very, very closely. And since after making the after making the first couple of Stargate units, you don't really use the Stargate anyway. You may as well plant it somewhere else where your opponent is likely not going to spot it, and you may just get a little bit more damage done here in time. Already, though, a couple of Marines here are waiting for an Adept to poke his head in. Not quite going to happen here. They're going to be needed in the right spot. Look at this. Missile turret already comes up inside of the main base. I don't really see ByuN taking a whole lot of damage here. Yeah, the Marines have already cycled on over towards the natural mineral line as well. Oracle is going to go into the main, but I mean, there's already going to be a bunch of Marines there. There's going to be a missile turret. Maybe he can get a handful of worker kills. Maybe 2? Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yep. Perfect defense right here by ByuN. He obviously knows right now that this is going to be a little bit of a dance over here. He obviously knows at this point that it is going to be a proxy oracle, just because it showed up so early. At the very least, he should know at this point. Regardless, Stats has made a minimal amount of investment there, so he's going to go ahead and just plant down the third Nexus at the 4-minute mark here, regardless. So ByuN actually still forced to defend right now. He doesn't know if it's going to be more oracles as a follow-up. A couple of Stalkers were brought along the party as well. Getting a little bit of value. All right. Revelation there is really nice, yeah. Since these Stalkers outrange those Marines, yep. You can pick them up relatively easily. High ground advantage is also not actually a thing right now. Nice little bit of micro here, but you gotta be careful, though, if you're Protoss. Losing a Stalker here would completely negate the advantage you're creating for yourself. Although this is... Okay, well... It was a little bit too greedy, right? So, it's 5 Marines for a Stalker. I mean, that's still fine, but just... If you would have gotten 5 Marines and then just backed off, that probably would have made it a little bit better. Now, anyways, Stats apparently has decided to double down and plant down a warp gate over here as well. In StarCraft 2, there's 2 different warp-in zones. There's a slow zone, which is just a regular pylon in the middle of nowhere. And then there is a fast warp-in zone, which is when it's attached to a gateway or a nexus. So this means that these units will be able to warp in much, much quicker. I think it's like, I don't know, 6 seconds sooner or 6 seconds faster or something along those lines, which is quite noticeable. Blink is going to finish up here very shortly as well. And Stats, you know what? It's almost like he's taking a page out of Parting's book over here, right? He's like, okay, let me just go hyper aggressive, but then still go for the Stats move and just have a massive economy on the back of this as well. This is looking really nice right now, though, here for our Protoss player. I mean, he wants to continue fighting for a little bit longer. There are Marauders here as well. I don't know if you necessarily want to go into the main base. Nah, I think it's fine. Just bank on your economical advantage. Once again, a revelation here reveals most of the Terran base. I mean, he hasn't seen another command center yet, and he probably knows at this point, by seeing the amount of production here for the Terran player, it's going to be triple barracks, that there's likely not going to be a third CC just yet. So, if you know that that is the case, right, and you know that you're already on 3 bases, yep, you can keep your opponent very busy right here with these Stalkers. Just bank on your eco advantage instead. Very nice. Now, concussive shells are going to finish up here very soon. So, we have Stimpack already done in Combat Shield, and concussive are going to finish up very shortly. It is about time that we go back home here. Yeah, charge is a little bit late. So, that one's not going to be done, but I guess for now he just plans on defending here with some nice micro. Is that showing us how it's supposed to... Okay, showing us how it's supposed to be done, I say, as he, like, idles the Stalkers in one of the most risky locations ever. Okay, so far these Stalkers have been worth their weight in gold. Right now, though, it's gonna be much more difficult as he's got nowhere else to run. Yeah, Stimpack will be activated here, and now ByuN actually starts fighting in the way that he's been trying to for such a long time already. There are a couple of sentries available, and obviously battery overcharge will also be an option over at the third base. There's no shield battery in the natural. Okay, he's going to try and target fire down whatever he can. Looks like a couple more Stalkers will end up going down. Immortal comes out right now as well, and I think he may have actually, yeah, overextended just a tad. I mean, there is Blink available. He's not going to be able to apparently get those Stalkers underneath just yet. You know what? All things considered, yeah, that was a trade in army and stuff, but look at the timing here of that third base. That third base of Terran is only just now starting, whereas Stats already has his fully saturated. That does mean that the armies are going to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, so he has sniffed out at this point that it is going to be a little bit of shenanigans here by our Protoss player. Anyways, that does mean that the army here of a Terran player is going to be quite big, because you can see that the supply counts at the very least are still comparable, but this is, yeah, a really lovely position at this point for Stats to be in. I mean, he's going to be able to transition to whatever he likes. So in this case, apparently, that is going to be High Templar. We'll probably see the Sonic Storm upgrade here coming up very shortly as well. Okay, one of the... Alright, yeah, that was a little bit overly ambitious, my man. Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's not good at all for our Protoss player. He tried getting a little bit cheeky, sniping as many of those medivacs as possible, but then ByuN is like, no, let me just show you how you're supposed to micro. Second Immortal also decides to join the fight, and all of a sudden, Stats is giving up a very healthy chunk of his army. I'm not entirely sure why he was even that far forward, to be honest, because he must have known that his opponent's expansion was so far delayed. There's really no particular reason to be that far forward, other than with maybe a couple of Stalkers. Anyways, you should be able to clean up this army, even though he just lost a couple of units here for free, but obviously you want to try and avoid that at all costs. Alright. Well, this is the one advantage, of course, when you're a Terran player. Sure, you may not have that base available as early, but you're going to be able to land those mules very, very nicely. Therefore, get yourself a decent eco. Now, all of the medevacs, or most of the medevacs, are heading towards the main base. Love the Widow Mine here on the low ground as well. Very annoying. And actually, all of the Widow Mines now burrow on the high ground. He's trying to get the Stalkers here to maybe connect. He's buying himself a lot of time. I mean, Revelation, once again, from that Oracle is going to reveal exactly where that's at. One of the Widow Mines, though, will be brought back down to safety as well. And ByuN grabs himself at least a Cybercore and then also a Gateway. That means no more Stalkers here for at least a little bit. Storm is available right now, so that's nice. Okay, good Storm over there as well. Nice splits as well there by ByuN. Backing off ever so slightly. I mean, this Terran army is, I think, is running very low. I mean, if he waits for a little bit, then he gets these medivacs to heal the units back up. I guess it's going to be fine. Ooh, actually, Stats decides to blink on top of all of those units. There are quite a few Marauders underneath. Immortals obviously fantastic against those in particular. More Widow Mines do come up as well, but they're just barely outside of the radius, I think. Yep. And even though it looked like that was not that great of a fight there for ByuN, he still made the best of it. So, while that fight is going on in the center of the map, there's also a warp prism that managed to make its way across. A couple of Zealots apparently got warped in. I think that those will be heading on over towards the third base. Anyways, a couple of Zealots will be unloaded inside of the natural expansion, and I think, well, maybe they will now go into the main base instead. Even though, this looked like it actually was going on for a little while longer. I think I actually just missed the beginning of that fight. This is a nice defense here by ByuN, all things considered. Does he have any anti-air? Okay, no, he's making a couple of Vikings right now. So those Vikings should be able to gun down that prism in the corner of the map. I mean, if it's gonna hang out there for a little bit at least. Yeah, like if you don't, the problem is, right, then you're always gonna have to leave units behind. Because then you can just get easily overwhelmed. Anyways, Medevac, oh sorry, War Prism will be picked off. At the same time, 2 more Zealots. Okay, these are getting more done, it seems, than the others. Even though it's just 2 of them. Yep, there we go. They get a couple of SCV kills as well. Cool. In the meantime, it is going to be another Robo right here from Stats. And he's also got a Robo Bay. So either Colossi or Disruptors here as a follow-up. I like it because after forcing out those Ghosts, and once again, by the way, ooh, this is now unscouted. I was going to say, after going for those Ghosts, right, you know that your opponent is going to be able to counter your High Templar. So going for a secondary source of splash is really, really nice. Considering there's a lot of Widow Mines, I think Disruptors make the most sense, although, well, that being said, I mean, one of the Robos did just get picked off. Army in the bottom right-hand corner also trying to get some value. I think it's going to be able to, ooh, apparently even get the kill on that. Medevacs will be forced to lift up and get on out of there once more. 4th Command Center, though, is going to finish up here very shortly. And now, all of a sudden, this is starting to look like a much better eco game here for ByuN. Battery Overcharge has been activated, okay. Ooh! He tried to see if he could potentially snipe the Disruptor there in time before the Purification Nova would go off. But Stats manages to hold on by the skin of his teeth. Battery Overcharge kept the Disruptor alive for a little bit longer. And then he also got a full Medevac kill there, too. This 4th base, though, is quite late, right? Considering how much faster we saw that 3rd Nexus there from Protoss. Right now, yeah, the 4th base is going to be done a little bit quicker here for ByuN. This one is probably going to turn into a planetary fortress, which is not only going to obviously help position this base a little bit nicer, but it's also going to make it much easier to defend with, or against Zealot run-bys, right? That will try and head on over towards, for example, the 3rd base, because this corner of the map is going to be much harder to get into. Okay. Well, obviously, you can still get yourself some nice EMPs off on Disruptors, but they're not energy-based units, meaning that you can... Ooh, okay, he's going to be able to get the snipe on that. Meaning that you just reduce their shields. A couple of Widow Mines will be sniped. Even though the Planetary is going to be coming up here, it's not quite done just yet. Okay. Stats is all over the place. Okay. Decides to even now do a big warp in over here. While this is all going on, though, we have a couple of Widow Mine drops apparently trying to get some work done. Okay, that army over there will be picked up. Even though it looks like Stats is putting out all of the fires quite nicely, and even though it looks like he's also dealing some damage on the other side of the map, all of these traits are going significantly better for ByuN, right? Because we see all of the Zealots getting picked off there, right? And even though there's like 1 or 2 Medevacs that we've seen get picked off for free as well, all things considered, I think a lot more resources here were lost for Stats. If you look at the resources lost right now, yeah, you can see that all those little things have been adding up very, very nicely here to apparently now a near 50 supply lead for ByuN. Okay, once again, actually. Oh, this Widow Mine got another detonation off. Ooh, dude, those EMPs are nasty. Gets one of the Disruptors. 2nd Disruptor, though, still in the back, will stay alive, but obviously now it's going to be on cooldown. There's only so much available. Widow Mines, are going to be able to explode right there on those Immortals. And unless he gets, like, the sickest... Yeah, no, the sickest Disruptor hit, I don't really see him holding on here very easily, right? I mean, if this 4th base dies right now, that is going to be pretty much game over, I think, for Stats. And it looks like ByuN is winning the fight over there. Even though there's a couple of Zealots inside of the main base, it's not gonna be enough. And that means that we go to the ace match. Okay, and apparently that final map is going to be Death Aura. Now, of course, Pillars of Gold and Death Aura are now no longer in the map pool. This particular game got played, like I said, during the most recent OlimoLeague, which was last week. I'm assuming that this week's one is going to be with the new ladder maps. So as soon as... like, the thing is, right, there's a whole load of games that are still being played on these maps as well, because some tournaments that started... Is he really going to go double barracks, by the way, again? Anyways, if a tournament starts before a new ladder season begins and before a new map pool begins, usually they will finish that tournament if it's going on over the course of a couple of weeks you know, with the old maps, right? You're not gonna all of a sudden change maps in the middle of a tournament because then all of a sudden the rules don't really make a whole lot of sense anymore. He is once again gonna go for some barrack shenanigans. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that even though these maps are technically rather not in the same or in the map pool anymore, they are still gonna be used at least for a little bit longer in some of these tournaments. Maybe even OlimoLeague is still gonna be using these maps as well until the end of April, because I know they have a monthly finals. Anyways, even though Stats did not quite see those barracks, apparently this probe is like a horse with blinders on, you know? I feel like it should have had perfect vision there, because there was nothing really obstructing anything. He's still going to be able to get across the map, and now see that there's nothing inside of the main of our Terran. Sees the timing of the barracks. Stats knows exactly what is happening at this point. I mean, he should, right? Let's see. He's going to scout around again. This is a very unlikely location, I guess, as well for this kind of barrack shenanigans. That being said, Stats has decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and build a cybercore. Second gas. No Nexus just yet. I'll be fine. Zealot obviously available. No mind games can get to him. Okay, okay. Where are they now? Asks Stats. Alright, I see. Well, it doesn't really matter so much. I like this, though. Yeah, just delaying the expansion would be quite nice. If we can see the barracks land there, I wonder what's going to happen. It makes the game very awkward. Stalker's going to be coming up. Can he get another probe? He wants to gun it down. I'm sure he wants to get it. I mean, come on. I want to get that probe, and I'm not even playing the game. Get it. There you go. Okay, good targeting. One of the Zealots will, or sorry, one of the Marines will be picked off. He's just trying to get the probes, by the way. This is already looking much nicer than the previous game. Or the previous game where we saw this. I think you... I feel like you only really want to get the probes, right? I mean, the Zealots are nice and all. Makes it easier to defend at home once this inevitably gets cleaned up. But this is 7 probe kills right now. Gonna get an 8? Oh my god, 8 probe kills? I think that's worthwhile, right? Yeah. And right now, I mean, look at that. The bunker is still in the natural as well. Stats is now forced to start up more units here instead. He decides to even... Okay, I was gonna say, like, he doesn't have that much money. He decides to even plant down the 3rd base rather than his natural here first. And the reason for that is that he's trying to get all of his units towards the other side of the map here as fast as possible. Now, a triple supply depot wall-off where a reactor should be is a little bit awkward. But I guess it's gonna help at least prevent these units from getting into the main. Barracks obviously are on the other side. They're still gonna be producing Marines, actually. Okay. Widowmine is available, so Probe is gonna be forced to sacrifice itself right now for the greater good of the Protoss army. Has he seen the 3rd? He hasn't. So, ooh, this could actually get really awkward right now because ByuN hasn't seen the expo from his opponent, meaning that he could expect right now that it's gonna be like a 4-gate follow-up, right? I mean, 4 gates are very uncommon. At least in 2021, they were the standard for many years, but 4 gates are still viable in these kind of scenarios. Has he seen it just now? No. I saw the Marines marching up the ramp for just a second. Okay, finally the barracks will be forced to go back home as well. Widowmine drop as a follow-up would be nice, but if ByuN misreads this right now and delays his own expansion for a significant amount of time... Okay, he does go for the command center. Yeah, he probably knows at this point that there is a base out there somewhere. I mean, the barracks, obviously, or the bunker, rather, is also gone right now. So he's going to see that the 3rd Nexus has been acquired, which is a nice tell. I don't speak Korean, but I don't really have to, to understand what this means, huh? Can we get a translation of what he said as a follow-up? What the hell was that? Alright, apparently that's what ByuN said. Fair enough. I love it whenever there's like a translator in the games, by the way. It's fantastic. I know, especially in the OlimoLeague, it should be right. So I guess it's like, I think what you're trying to say is like, this should be the correct move, question mark? Something like that. Ooh, Widowmine drop goes down! ByuN, dead Nexus. Yep, it was a misread. I was trying to say something. I forgot. Oh, you're right. I've noticed that especially during the OlimoLeague, pro gamers are very talkative. They're very chatty. In most of the more official tournaments, right, the bigger ones, you're not allowed to chat during the game. But I you know, I don't really mind it, right? Obviously, if it's the World Championships or whatever, right? And you have, like, Raynor typing in the chat, like, just leave, idiot! Like, you know, that would not be... Maybe it'd be fun, actually, but I think it would be a little bit obnoxious after a little while. So I get that it's not allowed in the bigger events, but I don't really mind it if it's like a... I don't really know exactly how much the prize pool for this particular event is, but, you know, it's a more casual event, right? A little bit of trash talk from time to time. Man, he's denying a lot of mining time with this, like, annoying shenanigans, right? Anyways, Blink is done. Ooh, okay, so that does mean he's going to be able to grab this Widow Mine over here, too. Don't lose the Observer. That would kind of suck. Anyways, okay. So, all things considered right now, there is going to be an expo here for ByuN. And he actually has denied a lot of mining time. He's killed 15 probes this game. 6.5 minutes into the games. Okay, that's a lot of workers. I don't really know exactly what the number is, right? So if you go for a double barracks, how many workers do you have to kill to justify it? I would probably say like 6 or 7. You do need quite a few, is what I'm trying to get at. Or obviously you can delay your opponent's expansion until, you know, it's never gonna go up. Well, you tried to actually dodge the Observer there, but obviously if the Observer sees you, or you can see the Observer blur, the Observer can see you as well. Anyhow. Let's see. I guess in Revelation mode, it's got a little bit more vision. So yeah, it should always see you. I actually kind of like what ByuN is doing here with this Medivac. So he's pushing it all the way to the right side of the screen, right? So you can see it on the minimap, but it's only like half the square. You see it on the minimap? Like it's like a tiny little... It's hard to notice, right? Even though Stats knows that the Medivac is there, you have to always pay attention to the minimap in order to actually spot those things. And it's much more obvious when it's, you know, the full square moving around on the minimap instead. By the way, I get that question every once in a while. It's like, Lowko, how do people even keep track of everything that's going on? It is just simply through the minimap. If you play the game a lot, or when you play the game a lot, at some point you get the headspace, I guess, right? Like, when you first start playing, everything is hard. But as you play more and more, the game becomes easier, so you can pay attention to things a little bit easier as well. And one of the skills that you, I guess, acquire as you get more comfortable is minimap vision. So here's, by the way, look. Here's, by the way, that Widow Mine drop now going in. He's still microing those couple of Stalkers, right, on the other side of the map. So it's tricky to respond at the perfect moment. Widow Mine does burrow. Okay. Gotta get the Zealot. This is still a scary Terran army, though, that's moving across. Siege tanks obviously do not mess around. Charge only just now starts up. It's got to be a Colossus transition this time around from Stats, so he only has 4 gases acquired at this point. There's obviously a couple of really good siege tank spots, right? So if you can get your siege tanks here in a good position, that can definitely help out. Until Charge is done. So the ranged upgrade for the Colossi are going to finish, or is going to finish up rather very shortly. So the extended thermal lance. Yep. Okay, so this is good for Stats. Without the ranged upgrade, he wouldn't be able to snipe down that siege tank over there. Yeah. I think the shield battery is now also going to help out enough here to defend against this. Should be okay, actually. Theoretically. It's a bit hard to say. The problem is, right, if you're a Terran player and you lose all of those units for free. Now, once again, a beautiful Observer here, man. Yep, he spots it. ByuN, that is, but... or sorry, yeah, ByuN does spot it. What is this? Is that the Observer? Where's it going? Anyways. Yeah, spotting that is absolutely massive. This is still a very scary Terran army, though. 74 army supply versus 47 of our Protoss. First battery there gets sniped pretty easily. He's going to need a little bit more, I think, in force fields to push this Terran army back. Stalkers blink down from the main base to try and join this fight as well. But those tanks in the background are dealing a ton of damage. They're getting a lot of value in. Battery overcharge will be utilized there on that shield battery in the back. Is there going to be enough, though, for Stats to actually hold on? I mean, the Colossi are going to be absolute key here, right? Another siege tank now joins in the fray. The Nexus is starting to take a lot of damage. If he kills the Nexus, I suppose, and then banks on three command centers, that is, he should be okay. He's trying to charge on top of all of those siege tanks in the back. Okay, one of the Colossi will end up going down. Nice target firing right there by ByuN. Second Colossus running dangerously low. Third Colossus now also being target fired down. ByuN, is he pulling a rabbit out of a hat? That army there for Protoss looks so strong, but those medevacts keeping those Marauders alive for such a long time. Okay, it looks like Stats will be able to eventually push this back, but that was actually closer than I intended it was gonna be. Okay, probes will be moving on over towards the third base as well. Third command center has now finished up here as well for ByuN, so he's gonna be able to send some SCVs there too. These guys get so much value out of such small armies. Imagine though if that army was microed ever so slightly differently and like 2 out of the 3 Colossi would have stayed alive. I'm pretty sure at that point Stats would just try to march across the map, right? So he's gonna go, ByuN that is, for a couple of Vikings here, which makes the most sense. Concussive shells now coming up. He's gonna go for the +2 weapons too. Fourth Nexus coming up. Another Colossi is being built. Another shield battery here too. Okay. So there's spotter units moving or moved out on the map pretty much everywhere. This army for ByuN should be spotted once again. Observer in a bit of an awkward spot. Oh my god. Really? Okay, well he sees it right now. Is there gonna be enough here for Stats to clean this up? I'm looking at this army, and judging by the fact that there's now also Vikings here in the fray, and once again, 3 of those siege tanks, I don't think there is, right? Okay, battery overcharge once again, though, will be utilized. I mean, that is very good. It's going to keep a lot of those units alive for a very long time. Look at the Colossus just standing its ground, actually. Marauders, though, do stay strong there, and they're going to be able to push through most of those ground units from the Protoss player. That means that the third Nexus will end up going down. At the same time, though, there's a little bit of damage being done on the other side of the map. Terran reinforcements are going to be forced to clean all of that up. Still, though, yeah, Stats, I think he lost a little bit too much in the earlier stages of the game. GG is called. And with that, we do have ByuN obtaining the victory in a 2-1 favor. I hope that you enjoyed watching today's video. If you did, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. But for now, thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.